This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm not sure if I have internet connection where I am, but hopefully I do. This is April the 10th, 2026. It is Saturday or Sabbath day. Check in and let me know where you're hailing from. It is about 6:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I tried this to go live a few minutes ago, but for some reason they wouldn't let me in the live. It kept saying failure to enter. You don't have access to join the live. So if you can hear me, or if you're at least visible, you can see me, then please let me know you can see me. You probably can see me. Let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, please put a 1 in the chat. As I said a few minutes ago, I was trying to go live, but I was having some issues. I'm not sure if I have internet access where I am. So I just wanted to be brief today and let you know that President Trump is very active on social media. So if you can hear me, please let me know. I would type in the chat, but I'm not able to type. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I don't see anyone in the chat yet, so I'll just wait and I'll be patient, roll down the windows. I just wanted to do a little shopping, but chat with you all. Yes, ma'am, you can hear me. Awesome. Come in the room, family. How you doing? Happy Sabbath day. Happy Saturday. Easter is over. Passover is over. It's spring season. It's resurrection season. It's a new year. Happy New Year. Yes, you can hear me. Good. I'm just waiting for more people to enter the room because I had set a podcast for about 20 minutes earlier, but I had a hard time entering into the room. Welcome. So I hope everybody's enjoying their weekend. It's now probably about 6:40, 6:50 p.m. I just wanted to let you know what Trump is saying on his Truth Social and let you know how mainstream media can say one thing, but news coming out of other media platforms and other countries can be different from what mainstream media says. So I don't want to make you wait too much. I hope you all, or too long. I hope you all saw my podcast with Sheikh Jacob Bey. He talks about so much, in terms of how everything is ending. And along with that, you can see that everything is ending, in terms of the deep state being collapsed. But that podcast a couple of days ago was very informative and a lot of people enjoyed it. And then I put up a video with Dr. Claude Anderson, who used to actually work for many presidential administrations. He talked about the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments and how those amendments were added to the Constitution to give certain people privileges, not rights, but privileges, and how those three amendments have been abused. So if you get a chance to watch the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment and 15th Amendment video that I put up, it says the amendments, who they were for, and how they were abused. Dr. Claude Anderson also wrote a book called Powernomics, and he talked about the power or the strength of communities working together as one unit in order to have economic power, economic stability. So that was a good video that I put up, but there's so much information coming out right now that it's kind of hard for some people to keep up. Good day to you too. Good day, Soul Family. You hear me well? Okay, then we can start. We have 72 people in the chat. This is only streaming from YouTube and not my other social media outlets. Usually I do it all at the same time. It was an awesome lesson you guys did. Thank you, Sister Yvette. Oh, and also the information, I forgot about that, the prisoner of war flag. So if you didn't see what we talked about the prisoner of war flag, it is a black and white flag. It's a black flag with white letters, and it says POW MIA, prisoner of war mission in action. And at the bottom of it says, you are not forgotten. So if you missed that video that we did, Sheikh Jacob Bey and I did together, please go back and watch it. And also I did some videos, 2 short videos leading up to Sheikh Jacob Bey talking about how in 2019 there was a law passed that said that federal buildings, including the post office, had to wave this flag that says that the prisoners of war were not forgotten. And we talk to who the prisoners of war are and why it's important to remind them that they're not forgotten. So blessings to everybody. USPS is suspending pension contributions and asking for a 4-cent price hike. Wow. So we have almost 100 people in the chat. Please keep coming in. What else is going on? I can't remember any other videos that we talked about. We talked about, of course, the difference between citizenship and sovereignty. I did one of my podcasts earlier this week. I also talked about the difference between privileges and rights, because, a lot of people misunderstand privileges to be rights. A privilege is something that is afforded to individuals by the government or whoever is running things, the rulers in control. They afford privileges to people that they consider citizens. Now, a privilege should not be misconstrued with a right, because rights are something that are intrinsic. Rights are passed down. There's something that you just naturally have. And this reality, in terms of how things have been going in our reality, sovereigns or sovereign principles have rights, because sovereign principles or sovereign entities, we can call them sovereign people or persons. I know we want to be careful with the legal terminology, but people who operate in their sovereignty understand that they don't need a government. They can govern themselves. However, with the government running things, they looked at people as chattel property. So what they called chattel property was citizens. They called them a citizen because to be a United States citizen means that when you take certain benefits from them in exchange for those benefits, you have certain privileges, but not necessarily rights. But those privileges can be revoked at any time. This is why we have licenses, because licenses give you a privilege to fish, to drive. You're getting permission to get married, but those can be revoked at any time. And when the government gives you a privilege, they can not only revoke them, but they can also control you. This is one of the reasons why when people get divorced, the government can tell you what happens to your estate and to your children, because you, in their eyes, are chattel property as a citizen that was afforded the privilege to be able to get a marriage license to enter into union with your significant other. But it's a whole mess how they considered as chattel property, or people chattel property, and gave them benefits or privileges. But the reason why we need to know this is because as long as we feel like we are entitled, what we're doing is we're saying that we think we have the right to certain privileges, but the government revokes them. And now what's happening is not, the government isn't intentionally revoking privileges. The government is gone. The government no longer exists. They're not telling us this, but the government has no money. We do know that. I reported a couple of weeks ago that in February 2025, the United States Treasury Department reported that the United States government, or the United States Incorporated, is insolvent. It cannot pay its debt, and it likely will default on its debts. The way we know that it's gone is because the government is not only insolvent. That came out from the United States Treasury Department. The United States Treasury Department is actually a part of the republic, the lawful government. So for them to report that the United States Incorporated is insolvent, they're letting us know that it's over. It no longer exists. It's being propped up because some of us are going along with it and because they haven't made that official announcement yet. But simultaneously, what's happening is that countries all over the world have refused to stop buying the United States Treasury bonds, which is the United States debt. Countries are saying, I'm not buying the United States government debt. We're not buying the corporate states debt. We're not buying the corporate cities debt. And so now the United States, it can't pay. It has no money, no currency. Additionally, the United States Treasury Department announced that they went along with or approved Donald Trump's plan to phase out paper dollars. So if Trump's plan to phase out paper dollars was approved, or since it was approved, that means that we won't be using paper dollars, the United States dollar, any longer. The United States dollar is the currency of the United States Incorporated that was printed through the Federal Reserve Central Banking System. So just the fact that they're phasing that all out means that the Federal Reserve can't print money. They cannot print any more currency to fund their shenanigans. So you have the United States Treasury bonds being dropped. You have the printing presses halted. You have the Treasury Department saying we approved Donald Trump's plan to phase out paper currency. And then you also have the Treasury Department to say that we did approve Trump's plan to create the new currency with his signature on it. That currency will be gold backed, and it will be the currency that will be used to transition us from paper currency to digital currency. And we know that because when the United States Treasury Department came out with the report saying we approved Donald Trump's plan to phase out all paper currency, it says in its stead, digital currencies will be used and gold coins. So all of this happening at the same time as us being under a government shutdown lets us know the government is over. It's done. This is why birthright citizenship is being in question now. This is why even a whole question of citizenship, because a citizenship is a fictitious status given by people, by the United States government. The government gave people that status of citizenship, but it's a fictitious status. They created that so that that Europeans could get rights. So they can get what appears to be rights to the resources and the land here, so that the immigrants that they bring over here can appear to get rights. And people think they're getting rights, but they're not. They're getting privileges. And anytime the entity that gave you the privilege ceases to exist, so does your privilege and your status. A lot of people don't know that. And, I don't fault them for not knowing, because a lot of us didn't know that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment was not created for immigrants at all. These were additions that were created by the United States Incorporated, additions to the Constitution. So many, many people took advantage of that. In fact, there's a report, an interview, for example, of Akon. I think Akon is an African singer. He comes from Senegal. His son did an interview with Vlad TV, and his son was pretty much saying, American culture is so bad. You guys have no culture when it comes to marriage, where, you don't understand family. And the guy who was interviewing him said, well, it takes a lot to be able to afford a large family here in America. And so he was like, well, in my country, we support the idea of country and family, and pride and patriotism. So the Vlad, and I'm going to get to the subject for the day. I'm giving people time to come in. We got 200 people in the chat. Thank you. Hit the like button coming in, please. So the guy was like, well, let's talk about that, Mr. Akon's son. Tell me a little bit about your culture. And he said, well, my dad has 5 wives. My dad came to the country. He immigrated to America, and he's making a lot of money as an immigrant that has dual citizenship, not sovereignty, citizenship in Senegal. Well, he is a national of Senegal and in America. So my dad has 5 wives, and whenever the wives were about to give birth, he flew them into America, and all the children were delivered in America. And so, that meant the wives all of them got benefits while they were here: Medicaid, food, health care. And they spent a certain amount of time. The wives did. Now, the first wife spent years. The other ones, they just dropped the load or dropped the baby here and spent some time, just for a little while. But the children remained. And the children remained here for a time period, and then they would fly back to Senegal. So the interviewer was like, so your dad had 5 wives, but all of them had their babies here? He was like, yeah, so that they become United States citizens. Like, for him, it was no big deal. And all 19 of the children that came here now can receive the benefits of the country while still sending money back home and going home and living and enjoy both places. And Akon and all his 5 wives going forth. But the children who were just dropped off here in the 8th, 9th month of pregnancy, now they become United States citizens. So I was like, wow. Now, we know that this happens, but it just proves the point that a lot of people were coming to America just to drop off their children to have babies so that they can get access to the resources here. But who is paying for that? The government's paying for it. What? Selling off their bonds, right? Their debts, some economists say. But not just that, we were paying for that. We were paying for people to come here and drop their babies off and now be called United States citizens. But the thing about that is, now that the United States Incorporated has collapsed, it has no money, it has no funding, it cannot support all of its citizens that they allowed to come over here. The benefits have to cease. A lot of people don't get it. They think just because they were born on the soil, that makes them privy to whatever we have here. Well, they think they have rights, and they'll say, I have a right to be here. No, you had a privilege of being here, because rights are afforded to the sovereigns that are here, the Americans that are here. And I've spoken enough about that. I really don't want to keep driving home that point. But the rights were afforded to, according to the Republic, the people that were natural born to America. And that did not include immigrants who dropped off babies. Now, what they've been using and arguing in court is the 14th Amendment. 13th, 14th, and the 15th, but it's specifically the 14th Amendment. But that amendment was created for slaves of children of African American slaves. If the African Americans after the Civil War had children, those children automatically become citizens to the United States, which they should have never been classified as citizens, because they're the free white persons on the land. You cannot be chattel property of the United States Incorporated when you sprung from the soil here. The Republic grants, our lawful government, the Republic grants privileges. The United States Incorporated, who usurped authority from our Republic, the Republic grants rights. The United States Incorporated grants privileges. That's what I'm trying to say. But that's phased out now. The United States Incorporated no longer exists. All those privileges are being taken away. That's why hundreds of thousands of people are being let go from their jobs. That's why Section 8 is no longer passing out Section 8 vouchers. You can look it up. It's happening in real time. That's why benefits, entitlement benefits, are phasing out, like TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, food stamps, EBT. It may be Social Security might even, as it's known, might even change. What we'll have instead of that, though, is we will have monies and benefits coming from the sovereign wealth fund. This is why President Trump created a sovereign wealth fund as soon as he came back in 2025 for the sovereign people on the land. That wealth fund is comprised of stocks, bonds, real estate, rare earth minerals, precious metals, monies made from and resources made from the trade deals that Trump made in the Middle East with China and abroad, because they gave him rare earth minerals and precious metals in exchange for brokering those trade deals. They were getting the resources that belong to the indigenous people. Yes, Chief Mac, I sent you a link. Oh, did I? I think I sent, no, maybe I didn't. I'll see if I can. Yes, they did. Can you explain that if you get a chance, how they were actually accessing the benefits of the indigenous people? Hold on, family. Let me do this right. Okay, I'm back. I sent you a link, Chief. I hope it's a link, because I want Chief to explain how people that came here were actually accessing the trust and the resources of the indigenous people here. A lot of them didn't know. I keep saying a lot of them didn't know, but people in the know are saying, yes, they did know. They did know they were accessing the trust of the people here. This is why they classified themselves as white. Everybody that came here, whether they were African or not, they classified themselves, or I should say most people classified themselves as white, because they knew that in order to do that, they can access our trust. And I'll let Chief Mac talk about that if he gets the link. So all this is changing, and a lot of people are upset because they were getting away with, I gotta turn the air on, with doing this. You had not only just people, artists and entertainers and people, regular people, but billionaires and millionaires were doing that. They have to pay it back, yes. Also, people in government, many of them are not even American. They're foreign born. Politicians, a lot of them are foreign born. Thank you for sending the 100 foreign born. And the millionaires and billionaires I showed you on my community section, a lot of them were either foreign born or they were first generation. They call them American citizens. But you can't be an American and a citizen. You're either American or you're a citizen. A citizen is beholden to and created by fictitious character, created by the United States Incorporated, that's given privileges. Americans sprung from the soil here. They're natural born. So what I reported on my community section was that a lot of millionaires and billionaires were either foreigners or they were first generation United States citizens. Their parents dropped them off here so that they can gain access to our trust. And they keep telling you, oh, we came here with $1 in a dream, $5 in a dream. They'll tell you, study Warren Buffett, study Elon Musk, study Bill Gates, study the millionaires, study the billionaires and all their stories. But they're a bunch of liars. They did not start off in this industry and that. And they started off getting access to the land, the mines, the resources of the people once the people, the indigenous people here, were colonized and enslaved. Once they got access to the land and the resources and were given extra privileges and benefits from the United States Incorporated, they continue to enrich themselves. Most of them are foreign born, but a lot of them are fleeing. It's not just the billionaires and millionaires. Just recently in northern Miami, a mayor was arrested because this guy looks like he's African, okay, but he says he's Haitian. This guy came to America illegally, came under false pretenses with a name that was not his, was a criminal, somehow still became a mayor and ran the city council, had 5 wives, was committing fraud, and he just got arrested. Thank you so much, Brother Tony Hood. I appreciate you so much for the gift, for the Cash App blessing. This man, I forgot his name, but this just happened. Northern Miami. No wonder the place is so corrupt. As the leader is, so the people. That's an old saying. this isn't just him, but it's mayors all over the country, governors. This is why on February 8th, 2020, the then United States Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, said, you governors, I know what you guys, would you say you didn't? Hold on. He said, I know you guys, you governors, you have been doing the wrong thing. He said, you've allowed the people from the Chinese Communist Party of China to come in here, buy up land, to infiltrate every segment of our society, research institutions, institutions of higher education. You've allowed the CCP to infiltrate banking. You've allowed them to infiltrate mining, everything. And he said, some of them come under the guise of being students, but they become bankers and they look like they're so benevolent, but they're selling secrets to the Chinese Communist Party and they're sending money to the CCP. He said, this was February 8, 2020. You can look it up at the Governor's Conference, February 8, 2020 on YouTube. He said, but I'm a ex-CIA director. I know what you all have been doing. I know how you've been complicit in aiding the Chinese Communist Party and allowing them to have access to what's going on here in America and all the resources and all the jobs, the top level jobs. So it wasn't just the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, it was the Ukrainian mafia, and it was people from all over the world gaining access to our resources. He told them to do, Mike Pompeo told them, the governors, to do the right thing. He said, you're allowing them to come into our states. And then some of the governors, if you look at it, they married people from the CCP, governors and mayors, even American mayors. I remember when I was in California, a brother basketball player married an Asian woman who had ties to the CCP. But the mayors married people who had ties for the CCP and ties to other people, or they themselves, and the governors were foreigners. They cannot have allegiance to American people if they are invaders on our soil. But the United States Incorporated, those are a group of bloodline families that are not American. They usurped authority from our lawful republic. They enslaved and colonized the original indigenous people of the Americas, the copper-colored races. And I'm going to keep saying it until I seed that into the consciousness of the copper-colored people, that you're not a slave, you're not chattel property, you're not a citizen. You are sovereign kings and queens born on the land, sprung from the soil, who need to know who you are because things are shifting and changing. All these people got to give everything back. So you have to start, when you know who you are, now you can behave like you're sovereign. You can know I'm not a slave. You can know I don't have to pay taxes. You can know I can reject all of this foolishness from the United States Incorporated. You can know to treat people with loving kindness, or treat people with love, truth, honor, respect, integrity, because you are that. You are the epitome of that, being the kings and queens from the land. So I need to go on. I know I need to go on. I'm not none of chit chat in here exposing any institution. I don't know what you're saying, but I think I got something from Chief Mac. Let's see what he said. He didn't receive the link. I'm back. I apologize for that. Chief Mac, I sent you the link. Look again. I don't know if it's the right link because I kept getting kicked out of the live when I was trying to start the live, but I sent it to you. It's not in your email. It's in the messages on the phone. I sent it to your phone. So what was I saying? There's a difference between privileges and rights. All these people that says I have a right to be here don't understand that they were given privileges. They're citizens of the United States Incorporated. That's not the lawful government. So any privileges or any resources that the fake government called the United States Incorporated gave to people has to be rescinded. That's what I'm saying. I'm not a U.S. citizen. You know the difference between being a national and indigenous person, right? Chief Mack is saying nothing came through. Wow, I sent it to his. I'm just having issues. Yes, I agree. Yeah, a lot of these people committed fraud. They committed bank fraud that were here. Um, they know they were given privileges above the so-called black people. That's why they walk with such haughtiness and arrogance. That's why when you would enter their stores, if you happen to be copper colored, misclassified as black, they would look down on you. They would act like you're going to steal from them. They would put their businesses in your community, but treat you like you were a slave or like you were a thief, because they know, and they were briefed. They know that we are the indigenous peoples here, and they were briefed to know that they must keep us perpetually blind, because a lot of them are a part of secret societies. A lot of those that have businesses here, a lot of those that have land, not land, real estate here, that bought up properties here. They know. They know. They just don't want us to know. And not most people don't want us to wake up. That's why a lot of people say, stop talking about that copper color stuff. We're all American. We're all one. They don't want you to talk about it because they don't want you to wake up. Because if you wake up, you're shaking everybody out of the dream. You're shaking up everybody out of the coma. What happens when a sleeping giant wakes up? The ones that's been oppressed, the ones that you said pull up by, people have said in the institution that said they need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. What happens when they awaken? What happens when people mine on the land of the ancestors of the indigenous people? And those people wake up and say, I want my stuff back. No, you're mining on my land, kept me off the mines, bragged about being rich and wealthy, lied about coming here with nothing, got privileges from the United States Incorporated, had in the deeds, don't sell to black folks. Those deeds still exist. When a sleeping giant awakens, the sleeping giant is going to say, I need my mines back. I'm taking over now I'm taking over certain things. I'm not sending my children to these schools to learn that they're lesser than anybody else. I'm educating my own children. I'm not participating in other nations' stuff that's on this land, their ideologies, their ways, their businesses. I don't have to do that anymore. When the indigenous people awaken, it's going to make a lot of people feel uncomfortable because they've benefited from the sleep and the coma of the indigenous peoples. But again, they've been afforded privileges, not rights, but they were told that they are entitled. And they got comfortable, which I get. I can't even be upset about it because the United States Incorporated allowed it, but the United States Incorporated is over. That's what I'm trying to say. They don't exist anymore. Now, the indigenous people on the land will have to start, we will have to make sure we either start, or if you're already doing it, continue to operate as the sovereigns that you are. Chief Mack is saying he didn't get the link. 1 minute, family. Keep talking, please. Let me see. Please forgive me, Chief. Please forgive me, Chief. If you're in the chat, I sent the link to your email. Let me know if you got it. So all of the things that are equated with citizenship, again, are related to the United States Incorporated. You're afforded privileges. Privileges have been now, herefore now revoked because the United States Incorporated no longer exists. So there's going to have to be another method to stay here. Or people will have to return to their homelands. That's why President Trump even said now people can go home to their country and make their countries great again. If I had a child in China, because like I went to visit China, and say my daughter was born in China, when she's born, she doesn't automatically become a Chinese. She doesn't automatically get to say, hey, I have a right to be here. I'm a Chinese citizen. I'm a Chinese. I have rights and privileges. Neither does she get to walk around like she's privileged above the people that sprung from the soil there. It's not how it works. It's just that the United States Incorporated made people feel confident because they gave them privileges, gave them white status, which is the status actually of the autogenous indigenous people, right? The black status was given to the original Europeans that came over here, the Slavs, the Slavics. and any of the Europeans that came here, the people call them the dirty Moors. I don't even like saying that, but the blackamoors from Europe, like Christopher Columbus, who came here, brought the Europeans over here. The one, because they treated them as slaves. They know that they were a new race. They taught them, how to wash and how to clean and how to do language and how to have culture. That's in the history books. It's called the Renaissance period. And then when they got overthrown and kicked out in Europe, the blackamoors came here. Heavy melanated beings. I don't know if they're extraterrestrial. They look North African. Some people say those Moors were North African. They came here and they colonized the indigenous people here. And they put the European people in certain areas in the Americas, and they gave them privileges. And then you give them certain jobs and careers and positions. And the blackamoors married some of the indigenous people here as well, or raped them, so that they can gain access to the land. Even in some of the old slave movies, you'll see a Caucasian person that's on the plantation, but who's the one dictating everything? Who's the one beating the field Negroes? It's the blackamoor. It's a brother. So a lot of the people that came here to enslave us and colonize us, some of them look like us, but they ain't us. Thank you for the Cash App blessing, Brother Edward. God bless you. I appreciate you. They're not us. They not like us. They not like us. Kendra Lamar told us they're not like us. Right. Enlil's children. Are you saying the blackamoors that were over there? They're Enlil's children that are fighting us, who most likely Inky's children, Inky and Enlil. Because some people say, why would God allow all this to happen? Because you got to understand what gods are. Gods are just creators. That's not the supreme being, energy. That's not source. In the beginning, everything was dark and void. Energy just existed. It exists. It can't be. They say energy can't be created nor destroyed. That's source. That's not what's allowing all this foolishness to happen. It's the creator gods, Enki and Enlil. Those are the two brothers. They're from Anu, the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, the Elohim, fallen angels, whatever we call them, who came from other planets or extraterrestrial ETs outside the Earth plane to seed humanity here. Those are the two that's fighting against each other. Their children, allegedly, are fighting against each other. But Enki has always been concerned about his creation. Now you got to study the Sumerian texts, the Book of Enoch, all that to understand that. The Moors were not a single distinct ethnic group, Brother Richard says, but a mix of indigenous North African Berbers and Arabs who settled the region. Oh, thank you. Lewis, you can't hear me? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat. Lewis can't hear me. Refresh the screen. You can hear me.